What is up, guys? It's at DFS Jimmy here, bringing you another FanShare Sports early week course breakdown. If you haven't already, make sure you get over to fansharesports.com. Check those guys out. They do all the ownership aggregations for you. They listen to all the podcasts from around the industry. They have their finger on the pulse of what's going on every single week, and they really dial in their ownerships to help you differentiate your lineups. They also have a complete form guide over there and a cheat sheet. They have a lot of great article content. Also, my course preview videos over there. So again, make sure you get over to fansharesports.com. Check those guys out. Also, make sure to give me a follow at DFSJimmy on Twitter. And make sure you give the video a like while you're here on YouTube. Now, let's get into what we have on tap this week. Last week, we had the grueling U.S. Open, Shinnecock Hills. Those guys got the crap kicked out of them. They're going to be looking forward to this golf course this week. It is a pretty tame TPC River Highlands for the Travelers Championship. So, really, it's a par 70 again this week, but it's not nearly as long. 6,800 yards. Really, not a ton of new age type stuff. It's an old golf course built in 1928, redesigned in 1982, 83, I believe, by Pete Dye. So it's got that Pete Dye type of feel. It is sort of a claustrophobic course a bit. You've got old mature trees all throughout the property. Actually, this is TPC River Highlands here right behind me. This is the 15th hole, and it's a pretty good indicator of what you're going to see. There's some water mixed in on several of the holes. You've got slightly elevated greens, depending on how they set the course up. Some of them are shaved around the edges. Some of the tighter lies or some of the short-sided areas are not quite as shaved. You do have quite a few bunkers that come into play both off of the tee and into the greens. Sort of the protection for these tight older courses. There are some exposed areas. They removed some trees in 2015 that sort of exposed some more areas of the course to what can be some windy conditions here. Usually it seems like 1 out of the 4 rounds tends to have a little bit of wind that comes into play at this course, and some of the players are quoted as saying that sort of like TPC Sawgrass, the winds can kind of swirl around here with the mature trees. And with Dye, you have to work the ball both ways, both off the tee and into the greens. No two ways about it. So we're going to be looking for your green in regulation guys. We're going to be looking for your steady down the middle type of guys that are going to hit a good long iron and a good mid iron and a good wedge into a green and leave themselves with a nice short putt. So anybody that's on with their approach games currently and really, distance doesn't matter at all at this course. It's only 6,800 yards. Actually, I'll go ahead and take a look at the course here. We'll take a look at our ATK card. And what we've got, TPC River Highlands, 6,800 yards, as you see. And it averages a half stroke under par. Most of your approaches are going to be that short mid iron range, like I mentioned. The 125 to 175 is sort of the range that most of your scoring is going to take place here. We'll start down here at the bottom. 2 par 5s, par 70. Nothing too special about them. They're pretty gettable. Again, it's your guys are going to be scoring on them. There's not a lot of guys in the field they're going to miss on these par 5s. So they're, while they're important, they're not really the focus of what dictates success around this golf course. The par 4 scoring is absolutely the most important here. As you can see, a lot of green, 8 par 4s from 400 to 450 yards. You've got 40% of your scoring that takes place on there. 63% of all your DraftKings points are scored on the par 4s this week. You've got 2 under 400 yards and 2 over 450 yards. Pretty obviously, the longer par 4s at 450 yards are what's going to cause most of the stress around this course. The other thing to note is sort of the closing stretch of holes from 15 on in. Well, 15 being very gettable, and then from then on in being tough. But 15 through 18 sort of dictate the close of the course, or sort of the fireworks that go with this tournament. The lead can definitely swing. By 2 or 3 strokes in the closing holes. A small lead is not necessarily safe going into the toughest part of the course in the closing stretch here in a difficult par 3 and two par 4s that average over par. So, again, overall, pretty easy golf course. Greens or hitting your fairways is really not a problem around here. Guys are going to be clubbing down. There's not, bombers can bomb if they want to. Bubba's done pretty well around here, but for the most part, it's just about getting yourself an opportunity in the fairway, so that you have the right club into these greens. They tend to tuck the pins because the conditions are generally soft around here, so they tuck the pins as a defense, and the guys that are on and that don't miss the 2 yards left or 2 yards right to short side themselves, those guys are really going to be rewarded this week. So look for your guys that are hot with their irons right now, hot with their approaches, and a hot putter never hurt at this course. Again, it's very much that steady ball striking game down the middle that's going to give these guys opportunities throughout the week. This course is home to the 58, Jim Furyk's. So if that tells you anything about the type of player that can have success around here, it's really just about consistency and giving yourself opportunities throughout all 4 days. But you're going to see some really low rounds that come into play here. There's absolutely an opportunity for anybody to go low with the generally soft conditions here. So make sure you pay attention to the weather this week. Check out the Bogey Free podcast Monday. We'll be talking a little bit more about the weather as well. For the most part, guys, that's going to do it. Nothing too crazy this week. It's going to be a much tamer golf tournament. There's not going to be near the carnage that we saw last week at the U.S. Open. But all the same, this is a fun golf tournament that really is wide open to any number of skill sets. Guys that are playing well. You'll see some of the top end. You'll see some of the top end guys at the top of the leaderboard for sure. But you're definitely going to see a couple of low end dark horses in what is generally a weaker field and a gettable course for just about any game on tour, really. There's not. It doesn't really favor a particular skill set, and a lot of the shorter hitters can certainly compete on this track. So, be open-minded to some of your choices this week, and look for the guys that are on with their irons right now, and that's going to be the most important factor this week. DFS Jimmy signing off for Fanshare Sports. Good luck this week, guys.